Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to Women's Hoops and Talks, the What podcast, where we are elevating the voice of women in basketball. I am Tara Bowen-Biggs, and I am so delighted today to be joined by another special guest host today. Alex Haigh is joining me. Alex, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great, and I'm so excited to talk to you because you are one of my favorite follows on Twitter. So if people don't know you on Twitter, Al Hicks, OWLHIX, is that what it is?
That is correct.
Yeah, you are just so funny. Your Instagram stories are so funny, and I was like, I've got to get Alex on the podcast before somebody else discovers her and snatches her up and makes her famous. So
I think you got time for that. Thank you so much.
Really glad you're joining me today. But what I think we should just go ahead and start off with is how about introducing yourself and telling folks a little bit about how you fell in love with basketball and the Blazers.
Okay. Yeah. So my name is Alex Haigh. I have been a basketball fan since I was very young, probably because of my parents, but I started actually playing basketball when I was in 6th grade, and I played for 5 years. And during that time is when I became a Blazers fan, because during that time, the tickets were very cheap, and we would take the whole team and go watch games. And I sort of just fell in love with the environment of watching a game with a bunch of other fans. It was very exciting for me. So it started when I was about 12. And my favorite player was Rasheed Wallace. Loved him. I am staring at a weird amount of collectibles of him. I have a Beanie Baby bear of Rasheed Wallace that was like made, I don't know when. I have a lunchbox. So the obsession started very young. But now, I'm just a Blazer fan in the capacity where really Twitter has kind of brought Blazer fans together, and that's the platform I've clung to, and it seems to be the most fun way for me to be a Blazer fan. So that's kind of the evolution of my fanhood, I suppose.
So if Rasheed was your favorite player, was that your favorite era, or did you have another era also that you really enjoyed?
It was a really fun era because I was young. I was in my childhood. It was just a good time in general, but it was also the heartbreak
your spirits had been crushed.
Yeah, it was also during the, Western Conference Finals in 2000. So it was a very rocky relationship. But when I kind of took a hiatus from my fanhood, which sad to say, was 10 years long. And I came back in it was 2012 or 2013 that I went to a game with my dad. And it was a game where LaMarcus Aldridge won by 1 point with a turnaround jumper over Dallas. And it was one of the most exciting games I've ever been to. And it just made me fall back in love. And I haven't looked back since. So
you said that one of the things that you liked about it was the experience of enjoying it with a bunch of other people. And Twitter is kind of like that times a million. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's right now. And it's not just looking around and seeing people clapping or seeing people with their head in their hands. It's their most inner thoughts and just scrolling. It's like Twitter is a river and you're jumping in every once in a while, catching a couple fish, but like it's going. So it's just constant movement and constant talking. It can get overwhelming for that same reason, but yeah, it makes it so much more exciting that you're just connecting with all these people you would never talk to otherwise. That's what I love about Twitter. This isn't a Twitter promotion. We're not being sponsored by Twitter, but
if they would like to.
Yeah.
The lines are open, though.
Yeah, of course.
So are you a superstitious sports fan at all?
I was in 2014, I think it was, in the playoffs. I was superstitious. I wore the same jersey and the same shoes and the same socks every playoff game until we lost. I think it was 2014. I would have to look at my pictures probably. But yeah, I've been superstitious before in that sense, just, kind of wearing the same clothes, closing my eyes during important free throws, doing this weird thing with my fingers that my dad taught me where you do like snakes with your fingers when other teams are shooting their free throws, hoping they fail silently. But yeah, other than all that weird stuff, no, I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious.
Speaking of free throw routines, I have this theory, wondering what you think, that when the opposing team is throwing free throws, I think the entire place should just go dead silent. Don't you think that would be more nerve-wracking?
Absolutely, because I bet they practice with noise.
I bet that doesn't even bother them. That's like what's supposed to happen. Like it's like you could just pretend they're cheering for you. Like, how would it be any different? I think we should start a thing where we just go dead silent. And like, what if our whole arena just like you could drop a pin, hear a pin drop, and everybody was like, I don't want to go to Portland. They do that weird like silent zombie thing.
I 100% endorse this. I'm signing my name on this. I love the idea. I think it would be amazing. Because I agree. I think all these players, they're professionals. They're not wavering by our cheers and our chants and our blow up, whatever you want to call them. Like, they don't care. They're fine.
Banger sticks.
Yeah. No, I'm down with this silent idea.
Okay,
Let's do
good.
it.
I'm glad I have your endorsement, and
you do.
You can amplify my voice on Twitter, because I believe you have probably a way bigger Twitter following, and Instagram, because I wouldn't even know how to like translate that to Instagram.
I'll tell the world. Tell them right now.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that we were going to talk about today, the theme for this podcast, is what are you going to be watching for? What stories you're going to be watching for this upcoming season? So do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. We're just talking about like the NBA in general, right? Not necessarily. Yeah. Because I mean, it's kind of Blazers related. The biggest thing for me that is, I guess, stemmed from heartbreak and morbid curiosity is I'm really excited to see what the Eastern Conference Trailblazers are going to do this year, aka the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes.
They took the heart and soul of our bench, and I'm devastated.
Mm-hmm. Ed
Davis, Shabazz Napier.
And Shabazz. Yeah.
And Alan Crabb's already there, so it's a freaking reunion over there now.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to be interested to see if first of all, if they play, if they play together, if they succeed. It'll be sad, but I hope they do. I loved Baz. I know you loved Ed Davis. We don't even need to talk about that, but I mean,
who didn't?
Yeah, who didn't? He was so great, but I hope they succeed over there. It's just so bizarre to me that, I mean, I don't know, when did Alan Crabb go? Last season?
Yeah.
Before last season?
Yeah.
So he's only been there a year, and then they have two of our bench players. It's wild to me that so many Blazers went there.
I was thinking about this last night because, right now there's all this stuff about all the Bulls are going over the Timberwolves to play with Dibs. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the same thing. Like in Brooklyn, they're amassing Trailblazers. And I'm like,
yes.
Maybe it's not quite the same thing, but it's just like this whole thing about like keeping groups of players together. But I never really saw those three Blazers as particularly like in sync or anything. Maybe they are, but
yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I'm not sure Shabazz was playing much when Alan Crabb was still here. He really only just kind of showed us what he had this last season, which was why him leaving was so much more hurtful to me. I know a lot of people don't think that Baz did much for us, but there was just so many highlight reel type plays of him passing or him just something with him assisting someone else. And I always like a player who gives up the ball for the greater good. And that was Shabazz to me. So I was really sad to see him go, but I hope he succeeds in Brooklyn. I'll be watching for him.
So have you ever really followed another team or a team in the other conference?
No, I mean, especially not in the other conference. It's just been it's been pretty dry over there. It's just not been that exciting.
Are you going to get on their blogs and read about their team?
Oh, goodness. I might about Brooklyn just because of the Blazers. But no, I mean, other players, I'll follow, other players on social and stuff, and I'll watch for, what's going on with the teams, because obviously the Blazers aren't anything without the other teams in the NBA. It's all works together. So it's good to, pay attention to everybody. But I don't spend too much time on other teams. I got enough vested interest in the Blazers as it is. So,
is there anything specific to the Blazers that you're going to be watching for this season?
I'm really excited about Wade Baldwin. We saw a little bit of him at the end of the season, and it was awesome. And then he broke out in summer league. So I'm just really stoked to see if he continues to get playing time, if he continues to produce, and just what role he kind of develops for himself on the floor, because, we've got a different team this year again. And not that the starting five is completely open by any means, but I wonder if he'll work his way up to that point. Do you think he has potential like that? Is it just me?
I love his long arms so much. And a guy with long arms and big hands, I think, has a really high ceiling.
Yeah, it's
if
true.
He knows how to use them, right?
Right.
I went to summer league, and he's one of those. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Kawhi Leonard, but in some ways, the way he uses his body reminded me of times when Kawhi could just like Plastic Man, reach all the way around a person,
right?
And just wait, did his arms stretch? What's going on there? So yeah, I start every year enthusiastic and excited about the young players, because what I like to do is watch development. I mean, I love watching when our stars play really well, but one of the things that I like best is when young players break out. And so that's why it was fun to watch Zach Collins last year, because that was kind of a surprise. Oh, I didn't really know that he was going to be playing this year. So I'm always interested in who the young person, the younger player is, who's going to really shine. But one of the things that I'm looking forward to this year is I'm super curious about Seth Curry. I said Seth, right? The problem is him and his brother, their names are so confusing to me. I have to he needs to come up with a nickname fast. I mean, I'm always calling for players to come up with nicknames, but I have never had a better reason than right now to demand that they come up with a nickname.
I think you've got your work cut out for you, though, in Portland. That's we've got a lot of people dedicated to wordplay and nicknames here, so we should have one in no time.
Yeah, I need it to be easier, because I'm really using way more RAM in my head to try to just keep them straight than I should be. I mean, I'm not a young person. I'm not getting any younger all the time. I need to make things as easy as possible for myself. But so here's the thing, though, that I'm fascinated about Seth. Seth is kind of a member of basketball royalty, and we haven't really had what I'm calling royalty. So here's why I call them royalty. We've had players in recent years who were the sons of players. So Ed Davis's dad played, Wesley Matthews' dad played, Gerald Henderson's dad played. I mean, we've had plenty of players whose father played, but Seth is from a royal family. And not only is he, a member of the royal family, but he's also involved with his girlfriend is Doc Rivers' daughter. So he's connected to this whole other royal family.
What a tangled web.
And it's just, I think it's really interesting that now he's here in Portland, which is not a high visibility market. And I'm curious to find out if he is a guy who like grew up kind of in the spotlight, who will bring the spotlight with him, or if he's somebody who like, this is a good fit for him because he's, you know, kind of out from under the shadow of, you know, his family and his big brother. And I'm really curious about that aspect. And I know it doesn't have anything to do with basketball, but it still fascinates me.
It does, I think. I think it has a lot to do with basketball because, you know, depending on his outlook on his position within his family, you know, it could affect his success in the NBA in the long run because some people may embrace that they are from, like you said, a royal family, or some, you know, in his position may feel overshadowed and it might affect, you know, their success. So I think it totally has to do with basketball. And I don't know what kind of person he is. I don't know how he deals with fame and, you know, if he compares himself to his brother or his dad, or if that even happens within the family, you know, because we never know. But I'd say it's a factor for sure.
Did you see that earlier this summer, Seth and Steph gifted their younger sister with like the women's locker room at her college? Like they had the locker room named after her at her college for her wedding day.
Oh,
and I'm like,
wow.
That's such a strange present. It's a wonderful, generous, I think it's like an awesome thing to do for somebody, but I just keep thinking, that is such a strange wedding present.
Yeah, that really is. It must have been something that like was very important to her that she kept bringing up because that's, I mean, if you're going with like a food processor or that's definitely one way to go.
Where are you going to put it?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Well, and the final like little connection there is, I mean, remember all the like the last few years, the tension between the Clippers and the Blazers. And, you know, Stotts and Doc Rivers and CJ and Doc Rivers, and how like it was always so exciting to see like what little extra drama was going to develop around the Blazers and the Clippers. And now like Seth is, you know, practically the son-in-law.
Yeah.
It's like going to be so interesting just to see how it all plays out.
I mean, now the Clippers aren't even the Clippers, though. So I wonder what that's going to be like if the Blazers-Clippers thing is going to still be alive this year. Or if we're going to find someone else to beef with. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I always feel like kind of a couple years ago when we did a preview with Anthony Irwin from the Silver Screen and Roll, like the Lakers. Like one of the first questions I asked him, this shows like how I was just getting started in this. First, one of the things I asked him, I was like, you know, so what do you think of the Blazers Lakers rivalry? And he just laughed in my face. And he's like, you guys are not rivals. Portland is not rivals with the Lakers. Like, you might think that we're your rivals, but like, we don't, of all the people that we're thinking about, like, you're way down on the list. And I was like,
man. The truth hurts.
No, I just totally did the what do you call it? Like the Snoopy thing, and I was just like, play the Snoopy music, and I walked away.
Yeah, the Lakers and the Blazers will always have something. It really doesn't matter what the competition level is between the two teams. There will always be tension. There will always be hostility. The fans will always fight. It does not matter if we both suck or it just will never affect it. And I kind of like that. I'm okay with that.
I'm like so stressed out in advance for opening night. I can't handle it. And
I don't even want to think about it.
Logic says the Blazers are playing the Lakers in LeBron's first game in a Laker uniform in Portland, and Lakers haven't won in Portland in like 12,000 games. And they are going to have LeBron. And so it's just like, everyone's like, well, the Lakers never win in Portland. It'll be great. Portland's going to come out and kick their ass, or, you know, look and see what, you know, the Lakers roster is. And I'm just like, I so wish I could believe that. I'm such a worrier.
Yeah, no, I think it's understandable to be worried. I mean, and you think about like all the Laker fans that we have in Portland, they're going to be out because, of course, they don't have Kobe anymore, but now they have Shaq. But now they have LeBron. They have Shaq. He's back. Did you hear?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But they have LeBron now, so it's going to be one of the most annoying nights to be at Moda, but one of the most probably exciting nights to be at Moda.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to the season starting. And one thing that I'm so excited for, the last thing that I'll talk about, the storyline that I am excited for, is it's official. We're going to get a retirement tour this season. I am so excited. I mean, I'm not excited that W.H.A.T is retiring because, he's a great player.
Right.
And I guess I'm glad for him that he's ready to say when he's done.
Yeah.
But I love the retirement tour idea.
Yes, me too. I'm so down with it. I'm sad. Like it's the one way I can handle, because we're down to the last few players that I grew up watching. When I first started watching basketball, they're almost gone. So like Dirk's done. Once Vince Carter's done, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm upset.
Who did they say the next Vince Carter was going to be? Like one of those guys from Toronto. You're going to be like, or Jakob Pertl.
Yeah, I mean, there will be people who try to replace it, but no one can replace my childhood. How am I going to handle that? I don't know.
Well, the one thing I love about retirement tours that I'm really looking forward to is there's a lot of, there's the whole like, are they going to play the video and the video compilation? But also like what gifts are good? I hope they do elaborate gifts. Like I read the autobiography of Lenny Wilkens, and he talked about his retirement year. And so he would go places and like the team where he was playing would give him like a rocking chair or like all expenses paid vacation to somewhere. They like everywhere he went, they like all gave him a token.
Oh, that's so cool.
Of appreciation for, what he had brought to the game. And like, W.H.A.T like totally is the kind of player who made a huge impact on the game and deserves something like that. So I can't wait to see, and because people are so clever.
Yes.
I think there's just going to be amazing like social media and gift giving and videos and everything around the retirement tour.
Yeah, I love that, when a player in the league retires, everyone kind of puts aside whatever trash talk, whatever, ill will they hold towards someone for what they did to their team. And they're like, you know what? I respect you as a player. You've done a lot in the league and you deserve all the attention right now. It's a great time to be in social media to experience all of the love being directed towards one person.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's kind of one of the things that I love about sports is the way that you can get like really caught up in your team and everything your team is doing and everything your team is doing wrong and everything the ownership is doing wrong and the players are hurt and we have bad luck or whatever. You can get all caught up in that. But if you take a step back and look at it more holistically and look at, every team is going through the same thing. Every fan base goes through the same thing. And, when a significant player comes to town or retires or whatever, it gives us a chance to reflect on what they brought and like what the larger sense of it is, just like you said, it's like they're, who they are as a person and what they brought as a person, not just like what it was like when they were, wearing the sweats of the other team that
exactly.
one night that although we're not ever going to forgive the 2000 conference finals.
No, never. And that's okay. I have a spot in my heart for hatred and it's reserved for that game. So it's totally fine.
Well, do you have anything else that you are going to be looking forward to this season?
I'm going to take this season and just be positive and hopeful for yet another rebuilding year with some players that I'm kind of unfamiliar with, if we're being honest. We picked up a couple people in the offseason that I don't know much about. So I'm excited for them to prove themselves, maybe even to themselves, but also to us as fans. And I don't know, just another good season. I'm stoked. I get butterflies thinking about the NBA season starting and just constantly being busy watching basketball. That is what I love. So
I know I love those, especially at the beginning when they when they put a whole bunch of games like right in a row together. And so like the first weekend or two, you're just like, that's all you're doing is watching basketball all day.
Oh yeah. And especially in the beginning, I don't know about you, but in the beginning, I'll watch all the teams because I'm like, yes, let's do this. All the games. I don't care who I'm watching. But it tapers off because I got to focus on my team. But at least in the beginning, that's what I do.
Well, shall we turn to playing our guest interview next?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, so we talked earlier tonight to Jannelle Moore. She is a writer for B-Ball Index, Real Ball Insider. She is a fan of the Golden State Warriors, and she writes about them. And I particularly love the way she approaches the team because on the one hand, she doesn't let them get away with anything.
Right.
She's like, if they make a mistake, she will call them out on it. If they are doing something sloppy, she will, bring it to everybody's attention. Mm-hmm. And I just enjoy talking to her because she reminds me of, that it's not just about the big stars, that, there's more than just, Steph and Draymond and all those other guys on Golden State Warriors. They're actually a whole team. And she just reminds me that it's not just about the big guys that everybody got and everybody talks about. There's more to the story.
Yeah. And she, makes them seem almost human to us Blazers fans, which is important, I think, to remember.
I know. I think about it when, because if there's any team that just really annoys me, it's them, but it's because they're so good.
Oh, of course.
It's not because I have an irrational dislike for them. It's because I irrationally dislike the fact that they are so good, and it's just not fair. And sometimes I get all caught up in that, and then I think, wait a minute, what would Jannelle say if I was saying or thinking if I said out loud the thing that I'm thinking right now? That's not fair to the team. So yeah, we called Jannelle in to talk to us about what she's looking forward to with the stories that she's going to be watching with regards to Golden State. Because I think it's interesting because people have written so much about them. What else could they possibly have to write about this team? So we talked to her about it. So hope y'all enjoy our talk with Jannelle. Well, now it's time for us to bring in Jannelle to talk to us a little bit about what she's looking forward to in the upcoming season and the stories that she will be tracking. So Jannelle, meet Alex. Alex, meet Jannelle.
Hi, Jannelle.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good tonight.
It's something I just realized is that this is the Champions edition of the Women's Hoops and Talks podcast. I mean, Jannelle is associated and a fan of the Golden State Warriors. And then, of course, me and Alex as the representing the Summer League champions, Portland Trailblazers. So welcome to the Champions edition. Thank you for being with us on the Champions edition of Women's Hoops and Talks. Well, let's just dive right in, Jannelle. What Alex and I have been talking about what we're looking forward to for this season. So what stories are you going to be watching unfold in the next several months?
What I'm really looking forward to immediately is if whether or not Patrick McCaw will be in uniform coming up this season, and even reporting to training camp next week.
So Patrick McCaw with the Warriors?
Yes, yeah. See, he's a restricted free agent, and he has been a holdout all off season, and right now we're coming down to the wire, and he still haven't signed a deal yet. So we're just seeing what kind of options we have in case he doesn't sign.
I did not know that was a storyline going on down there. That is very interesting.
Yes, it is. And, we have some players that's competing for the second two-way contract. That might be a pretty big deal right down the line. And also, we signed a player. He is now Steph's brother-in-law, Damian Lee. He's a wing, and we are very low on wing depth. So That's going to be pretty interesting immediately.
So was he signed like to a regular contract or a two-way contract?
Who, Damian?
Yeah.
Two-way.
He's the
He
two-way.
he was with Santa Cruz for most of last season, and then he got called up to the Hawks briefly, and Santa Cruz brought him back, and the Warriors signed him to a two-way. So that dynamic is going to be interesting, playing under his brother-in-law.
So no mention of Boogie Cousins.
I'm getting to that in a minute.
Oh, okay.
I said immediately. I mean, we all know about Boogie. I mean, Boogie is an interesting case because he won't be active until December at the earliest. But we're looking to activate him like around January. And that goes into another storyline I'm interested in. Who's going to be the starting center while Boogie rehabs? He's still undergoing rehab.
Do you have any thoughts or ideas on who it's going to be?
I think it's going to be Kevon Looney because he did such a great job in the Houston series, guarding against James Harden's tendencies and, just really being present out there, active hands. And we emphasize on the switch on defense. So he'll be a better fit. Now, I could also see Jordan Bell in the lineup because of his athleticism. So it could go either way. But, if I were a betting woman, I would say Looney.
Yeah, what does the job description for a Golden State Warriors center look like? What's the center expected to do? You mentioned switching, so it seems like it's important that they're mobile. What are there other things that they're asked to do in that center position?
Playmake a little bit, off the block a little bit, passing. David West was phenomenal in that role when he was a backup center for us. He retired this offseason. So, you got to be able to pass as well as switch. And right now with Boogie, we have a person that can score effectively. And the Warriors haven't had that since Weber.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, a very long time. I mean, even Boogie at maybe 65 or 75% was better than what Zaza was if you're talking about offense.
Jannelle, just real quick, one of the stories that I keep hearing about is that Steve Kerr is having to work really hard to make sure his players are not getting bored. Do you think that's real? Do you think there's any truth to that, or is that really a concern?
Oh, hell yeah, it's real. It's very real.
Okay.
It is
How
real.
so?
It is real because if you remember in March, Kerr let the Warriors themselves coach against the Suns. Each one of them had a specific play to run. Every last one of them. Steph, Draymond, Iguodala, everybody, because that's how bored they were, and ended up beating them by 45 points.
Does it get boring, like, being a fan of a team that is always winning?
I don't really pay that any mind because it's more or less like the process. The Warriors may make this run look easy, but it's not. They have to guard against human nature, which is boredom, have to guard against the disease of more and the disease of me, which that really ties into human nature. And so far they have done that. It's a lot. And plus the physical and mental grind of 82 games.
Yeah, plus another 16.
It's not like you're playing 2K here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that I keep hearing about is that that the Warriors aren't going to have all their players next season. They can't afford to keep everybody around. Is that a concern of yours?
No. I'm going to tell you why it's not a concern, because Joe Lacob, Bob Myers, and everybody involved in that front office kind of, they know, what will occur like 2 years from, when they signed KD, 3 years ahead. They planned it out. And again, this goes goes into the culture that we have. There's rumors about Clay going to LA, but here's the thing. Clay, has reiterated several times that he wants to remain a Warrior. What you think influences these players really doesn't influence Clay that much. I don't know whether or not it's his NBA background. His father, Michael, played for Portland and LA years ago. I think he was drafted by Portland first and then got traded to the Lakers. But anyway, Clay has been exposed to the stuff. And he wants to, and he's not really tripping off of money. He's not really tripping off of a role. He's just comfortable with who he is and where he is. So I'm looking at Clay to maybe sign an extension sometime in the season because we don't really know what his salary demands are. As far as KD is concerned, we will have his bird rights, and I don't think anyone can really, match what we're willing to pay him. And they're willing to pay him to keep him in a Golden State uniform. But even with that, I don't think that Durant is all that influenced by what the Warriors are willing to pay him because he has, his interests off the court with 35 Media and some venture capitalist hookups or whatever the case may be. And I think he's just looking whether or not he wins with our team, and plus is the camaraderie, is it still there? And I think that's why he's even in Oakland in the first place.
Well, okay, what about Draymond then? Are they going to be able to keep him?
Maybe. Because, we don't really know what their demands are. And again, Draymond is the type of player, and what people don't realize is that, he won't be the guy in the traditional sense. He has carved out his niche with the Warriors and has played that role to perfection. And he's the type that's not really tripping off of money either. Not much. I know that he is going to, reject an extension offer, but that's just playing it smart. I think he's doing that because his agent, BJ, has, kindly instructed him to. So, you just have to wait and see. But I'm not really that concerned at all.
Well, Alex can probably remember this too. We've been told before by a player that he wanted to be a lifetime Blazer, and then things changed.
They seriously changed.
I mean, and I'm not saying that, we're talking about when LaMarcus, in January said that he wanted to be a lifetime Blazer and stay and beat all the records, and then he left in free agency. And I'm not saying that, he didn't mean it when he said it, but situations change. So I'm always, super cautious when somebody says, I'm going to be a lifetime, and I'm just like, oh, God. Don't say that. Don't say that. Well, one more question for you, Jannelle, before we go. And that is that you wrote an article earlier this summer, which I loved. I loved the concept of it, called No More Lies. And you talked about all of the storylines that you think should end and all the things that people shouldn't be talking about anymore. So I thought that might be a nice way for us to conclude, would be for you to tell us about some of the storylines that you think people shouldn't be talking about anymore.
Well, again, No More Lies is actually a 3-part series, and I wrapped up the conclusion today. There's plenty of false narratives and just crap that's been spewed about the Warriors that I think all of it needs to end. But what really gets me is the fact that the whole adding of KD. That's what gets me. It's a cute little narrative, especially with how 2016 ended for us. And that narrative is that we had to get KD in response to our collapse. But the thing is, there's been whispers about KD to the Warriors ever since 2015.
So you don't think it was like a people need to stop saying that the Warriors lost and so they went out and got KD. Like, it was always the plan.
It was always the plan. And even if the Warriors would won the title in 2016, they would have gone after Kevin Durant. And that's because our owner, Joe Lacob, is somebody that wants to win, wants to get better, is always striving to get better. And that's why we are where we are.
One of the other things that you said that people need to just like put to bed is it Steph Curry's team or KD's team? What did you mean by that?
What I mean by that is people use Kevin and Steph and pit them against each other. Even Kevin said that it was Steph's team. Kevin himself said that he doesn't need to be the top guy, but they want to make him the top guy to create friction between he and Steph. But Steph isn't really tripping off of that. Neither is Kevin. They play well with each other. And that's what people don't understand. They have scored average around the same points per game, and sometimes Steph would edge him out in the regular season while KD would edge Steph out in the playoffs. They're both efficient, and their approach to the game is different, specific because of their size and their skill sets, but they find a way to mesh.
Yeah, they serve different purposes, so there's no real way that they could be stepping on each other's toes. They're just doing two different things on the court. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's disrespectful to Steph, and I know it's hot out in the NBA streets to hate on this guy for whatever reason. But, eventually a lot of these distractors and naysayers will have to put respect on his name, whether you like him or not. And, you don't have to like the guy, but just respect what he has done for the game and respect how he got to where he was. A lot of people even charge nepotism. Like Dale was, that dude, and he was a sixth man in Charlotte for so many years. And, having that bloodline doesn't necessarily mean you'll be in the NBA. If it was that simple, where's Michael Jordan's kids?
Right.
When they played basketball, one of them got smoked by Eric Gordon. So it just depends. Just respect what this guy has been able to do with his limited size and his weight and his stature. I mean, he worked. Wasn't nothing handed to him. You just gotta respect that. Respect what he's done and how he has turned that franchise around.
Oh my gosh, I am certainly hoping that the Steph Curry's talents do translate to the rest of his family because, as you know, the Portland Trailblazers just picked up Seth Curry. So what can you tell us about Seth Curry?
Seth is obviously an unbelievable shooter, and he has really worked hard to get where he is and has overcome a lot as far as trying to get in and stay in the league. He had a lot of 10-day contracts, with Cleveland, Phoenix, Memphis, New Orleans, but no one would give him a concrete deal except for Sacramento, and the Kings underused him. George Karl was the coach when Seth was there, and of course George Karl is an alum of Carolina, and Carolina hates Duke. Really, he didn't play this guy
and because Seth ended up at Duke.
He transferred to Duke. Seth started out at Liberty.
Seth had a pretty good run at. Did he played at Dallas before he got injured, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a great run in Dallas, and then he got injured last year, and he was out for the whole year. And he has worked after his surgery. He has worked hard in his rehab, working out with this guy called Dribble Too Much. I mean, he's really working hard to get that year back. And I just hope for you guys that you guys will use him the right way. I could see him playing off of CJ because, as a shooting guard, I mean, they're both the same size. Seth can create his own shot. I think that would be a nice fit if you guys will use him often and use him properly.
Well, I myself am a younger sibling, and so, with much better and more accomplished older siblings, and so I always tried twice as hard. So I'm hoping that Seth will surprise everybody as well and come out there. The only thing is their names are so close. I have to think so hard every time I say their names.
It's so difficult.
Do you think we're ever going to get over it?
Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah, I think, when I talk about these guys, even my friends kind of get confused. Like, who do you cheer for? I'm like, I cheer for Steph. Seth is his younger brother.
Well, you'll still root for Seth a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit because I want to see him. I want to see him do well. I mean, he has worked his butt off and still continue to work his butt off, especially being in Stephen's shadow.
Yeah. That can't be easy.
I can emphasize with him a little bit because I feel like that. I mean, I don't have a sibling or anything. I'm an only child, but as far as trying to break in and stay in the sports media industry game, I've had the kind of setbacks and stuff that Seth has. So I kind of understand.
Well, I wish Seth a lot of great luck, and of course, I also wish you a lot of great luck, Jannelle. Before we sign off, can you tell folks where they can find your work?
Yes, absolutely. You can find my work at SB Nation for Golden State of Mind, obviously, and also Cat Scratch Reader. I do work right on Sundays, even though, I haven't paid attention to football in about maybe 2.5 years, but you can find my work there. You can find my work at Real Ball Insiders.
You're busy.
And the USA Today Panthers Wire. And also coming up, the B-Ball Index. And I'll be writing about the Warriors there also.
Awesome. And do you have a social media account that you want to share?
Yes, I do. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jannelle12. That is JANNELLE12. And also on Instagram, my handle is Writer Diva.
Writer Diva. All right.
Nice. I just followed you right now.
It's the interactive show. Well, Jannelle,
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to checking with you again another time. We'll have another reunion of the Champions Edition.
All right.
Have a great
I
evening.
appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Okie dokie.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Women's Hoops and Talks. Alex, thank you so much for joining me this week. That was really fun. Would you like to tell people how they can find more Alex Haigh in the future?
Oh, if you need any more Alex Haigh, you can find it on Twitter at Owlhix, OWLHIX, and at Owlhix on Instagram as well.
Okay, awesome. And everyone, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you like the podcast, you can subscribe to the Blazers Edge podcast feed, and the Women's Hoops and Talks edition shows up every other Thursday. You can also follow at Hoops and Talks on Twitter, and every time we drop a new episode, we will also tweet it out through that account. So thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.